Okay. Um, I can't tell if I'm recording or not. I'm gonna assume I am recording. I can't hear my voice, but that's okay. Let's see. Okay, that right there. I just realized I'm not in the mood to do this right now, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Um, this.
And like everybody just knew him as Andy. You know, it's either Andy, Uncle Andy. So, so why?
Nah, I'm not in the mood to do this right now. I don't know when I'll be in the mood to do this, but I'm not in the mood to do it right now. What was I gonna do? Okay, I was gonna say, did you know this is not Andy Kaufman's grave? It is his memorial. He is not here. He is not in the ground. So we go back to the service
Yeah, I could do it.
and we see this.
We did
Okay,
have
they're
those.
walking out.
We played two
Father and
songs.
mother up front. There's Michael
played one
and
song
Michael's girlfriend.
When Andy and I went out for while Andy was sick during a visit.
And there's the coffin. Okay. Yeah, I'm not in the mood to do
Andy
this.
and I, the two of us went out.
So the question is, okay, if he's not in the ground, then what is this? Are you saying he's not in here? Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. He's not in here. So are you saying these people are dishonest? Nope. Do you say these people are lying? Nope. Do you say these people are in on a prank and on a hoax? Nope. Not at all. And honestly, you would say,
Was we played.
so are these people lying? Michael Kaufman, Lynn Margulies, are they lying? Michael's girlfriend, Prudence, are they lying? Nope. Are they in on a hoax or a prank? Nope. So,
Played two songs.
the question becomes, if they're not lying or in on a prank or putting on
When Andy
joke or a
and
hoax,
while Andy was sick during a visit.
and these guys aren't doing it, and that this box is empty, that's what I was wanting to do. I was wanting to call this the buried alive thing. It's like a magic trick, buried alive. How can you be buried alive? Well, how you're buried alive, some people get buried alive for a few minutes, some for a few hours. He's been buried alive for, at this point, 42 years. So, the way to be buried alive is to not be in there. But these guys would have to be lying. These guys would have to be in on a joke or a prank, or they would have to be getting tricked or fooled. These guys, they'd have to be getting tricked or fooled. Now his parents are up there getting their picture taken.
What?
Now where'd that go?
I would think also just because you could.
I could do it.
Yeah, I could do it. What we did
Okay,
have
so the
was,
parents are in the front.
We played two songs. We played one song that when
Let's
Andy and I
see.
went out for
Okay, he's taking a picture. Mom and Dad are up here. Let's find that picture. I don't know where that picture would be. I do, but it would take time. There it is. So there's the picture he was taking. There's Michael, there's Lynn Margulies, there's Mom, there's Dad. There's Carol and her man. So were they in on a secret? No. Was she in on a secret? No. Were they lying? No. Were they doing anything dishonest? No. So how is that coffin empty? How in the world could that be empty? I guess that's the part I'm supposed to tell you now. I need charts and graphs. How do I do? How can I do? Oh, that won't be any good. I don't really have any good way to do that. I should make this into a video that I edit and put graphics on the screen and bullshit. Can't say I really feel like it. What would it be? What would the video be? I would start out by showing the grave, and then I would show the coffin, and I'd show all the people around. I'd say, okay, are these people lying, and are they being dishonest? Is whatever being dishonest? And then I would break down what took place. I think that's what it comes down to. That's what I'm trying to get at. It's like, okay, if you're gonna understand how this really went down, you have to start at the end and work backwards. So that's what we're doing. We're starting at the end and working backwards, because the only place right now that really you can look for anything, you're not really going to find any medical records. You're not going to find any honest interviews with anybody or anything like that. So you need to start at the end, which is the grave. You need to start at the grave. Start at the grave. How do you start at the grave? With an exhumation? With whatever ground penetrating radar? What's happened? Why isn't there a spell check on this? I need something with a spell check. So no spell check on this. What's something that's got spell check on it? about like documents? I don't want sheets. I want documents. Okay. So start at the end. Starting at the beginning isn't going to do you much good, so you need to start at the end and work backwards. Where do you start? You start with the only thing you have, which is the headstone, the grave, the plot. Okay. And I've been saying this. Listen, I love that. I love how I've been saying this, like I don't understand that. It's like, what am I trying to, I guess just, it's not that I'm saying, oh, well, I've been saying this, I've been, bragging or anything. It's just that there's an importance in understanding this isn't new information. This isn't just groundbreaking first time it's ever been said. I've been saying he's not in the grave since week 1, 1984, week 1. He is not there. And, the big thing when you say he's not there, check and see, check and find out, is obviously you know what's going to happen. People are going to say you're talking about an exhumation or ground penetrating radar or soil analysis where they can detect if there's something decaying in the ground beneath it. But that's never what I've been saying. What I've been saying is check the paperwork. We know in 2013 when Michael went on CNN and said he wasn't there, that Patrick Whittle wrote an article saying when would that have been? November 2013. It doesn't make sense. That doesn't make any sense. What am I doing wrong? Comedian's brother now says he was the victim of a hoax. Yes, the daughter was a hoax. The letter was not. The manifesto was not. Oh, Jesus. Okay, so we're looking for Patrick Whittle. Doesn't make any sense. This is so strange. Why can't I find... Okay. Andy Kaufman remains buried in Elmont despite daughter's claims. So, does he remain buried there, or his remains buried there? Anyway, it's funny because so many people cite this article. Even AI just always cites this article as proving in 2013, proving and reestablishing that absolutely he is there. And they say it because the caretakers say the caretakers of Elmont Cemetery. So, Coffin remains buried, said a spokesman for the cemetery. The man's been interred here for years, the spokesman said. Now, what that is not, and I've said this a lot, especially lately, that is not the paperwork. That is not proof. That is asking somebody where the plot is and how long the plot's been there. Because the paperwork tells a completely different story. And like I've said before, it's not like you have to have the family's permission. It's not like the cemetery can refuse it. As long as you don't go in there acting like a joker, pretending, I'm gonna blow the lid off this case and da 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 da. You know, just from a standpoint of liability, they're gonna try and figure out ways to chase you away. So you have to go in there and be. I suggest if you were to do that, you would go in there and act sane, act normal. Say it's for. I always say it's for genealogy searches. You know, ancestry kind of stuff. I never would say I was writing an article or making a movie or trying to solve a mystery. Basically, just you're going in there for historical, genealogical, blah, blah, blah. Because the truth is, like I've said before, they are a nonprofit cemetery. They have to have these records on file. And the records I'm talking about are what's in the ground, specifically what's in the ground, when the ground was broken, and what was put in there, what mortuary was involved, the signatures of the mortuary involved, the signatures of the health department, just everything that's involved in a body, because there's a lot of stuff involved in a body, especially one that is supposedly flown in from California to New York. Like I said, just the way bill, the transportation paperwork, who received it, what did they do with it. There's a lot of paperwork when you fly a body from California to New York. But when you don't fly a body from California to New York, there's little to no paperwork. What you do have is that there is a memorial there. Now, how could there legitimately be a memorial there? Well, just like if he was lost at sea or killed in a plane crash or was homeless and on drugs and declared dead, but they don't know where he was, but he was declared dead and all that crap, and there was no body, and you have a memorial. I mean, that's what those are. He blew up in a plane crash, he was burned to death, and ashes, kind of stuff. So that's a very legitimate thing. And the way that works is, in this case, let's just say hypothetically that the family, the grandparents had already paid for the plots, or whoever, the plots had already been paid for. It's a big family portion of the cemetery. Headstone's been paid for. A funeral service at Nassau, whatever, Riverside, Nassau, funeral mortuary has been paid for. Coffin's been paid for. Everything's been paid for. The plan is when Andy Kaufman dies, that's where he's supposed to be buried. Now, let's just say hypothetically, Andy Kaufman wants nothing to do with his family. He has disowned them. When they find out he's potentially acting on his plans that he said for years, which is, I'm going to fake my death, and then I'm going to go woohoo, and then I'm going to come back, which was never true. I'm going to come back and I'm going to go, yay, I'm back. And they find this out and they get all pissed off and they fly out to California and confront him. And then they get Michael out there. And they go into therapy with John Gray, and everybody's bitching and yelling and screaming and stuff. You can have a little puppet show and make it all up however you want, because it's hypothetical. And he tells them, I'm done with you guys. I don't want anything to do with you. I'm dying. I want to be left alone. You have nothing to do with me. I'm an adult. I'm 35. I'm in control of my life. And this is your opportunity to say goodbye, because I'm done. Which, shockingly, you're going to just be shocked. A 35-year-old has the right to do that. Say, I don't want my parents. I don't want my family. I don't want anybody involved in my burial or anything, any decision made when I die. So he has that big blowout with his family, and then he gets his passport real quick, shaves his head, and races off out of the country to get away from him. They go back to New York. They get the word he's dead. Michael gets with the hospital and gets everything all straightened out. That's a whole other episode in itself. And then they go to the funeral home. Let's just say hypothetically they go to the funeral home and say, okay, Andy's died. It's really sticky on right now what's going on, but it looks like we're going to have a memorial, not a burial. But for privacy, this is how we want it. Now, You can decide, you can fill in the blanks. Did he say Andy just doesn't want anything to do with this, so he's being buried in California? Did he say Andy didn't want anything to do with this, he's been cremated, so there's no way he can come here? That doesn't really matter. Michael told him, this is a memorial, but let's just say hypothetically, his grandmother, the family, the fans, the friends, they don't need to know that Andy was on the outs and had disowned his family. They don't need to know that he wanted nothing to do with them and wanted them out of his life, never to see them again. The family doesn't need to know that. The friends don't need to know that. The fans don't need to know that. That's family business. And the funeral home not doing anything dishonest or wrong, perfectly understandable. It's already been paid for. The coffin's been paid for. The funeral's been paid for. The plot's been paid for. The stone's been paid for. Everything's been paid for. So, just as though he had been lost at sea or lost in a plane crash or lost in the war, they had a memorial. They had a half-hour service at the temple. The mortuary brings a casket to the temple. It's closed the entire time, no matter what you heard. No hearsay stories about poking the body. The casket was closed. He wasn't there. Legitimate rabbi has the memorial. They have the memorial. It lasts a half hour. It was not a funeral. They put the coffin back in the car. They all go back to the mortuary, and that's the thing. It's a private thing. It's like you don't have a line of cars driving behind the hearse. You have the family in the hearse, and they go back to the mortuary. The understanding is they're having a private goodbye, blah, 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 whatever. I don't know. So that's it. Nothing illegal, nothing dishonest, nothing, no joke, no hoax, no whatever. They had a memorial because the body did not leave California and come to New York, and it didn't come to New York because Andy wouldn't let it. He wanted nothing to be done. He wanted nothing to do with his family, and it was not their business where he was buried in California or if he was cremated in California, and that was none of their business. Now, how that happened and how the death certificate says what it says, that's a whole other thing. And yes, it says burial on the 17th, 3 days before the burial. It says burial in whatever, just like the press release says it, because Estelle Inler, that's what she reported, that was the plan, that he was going to be buried there in the family plot, blah, blah, blah. And when newspapers say it, it's because that was the plan. There would be a funeral service and the burial would be afterwards. But nobody was at the burial because there wasn't a burial. And that's the magic of the empty coffin. So, right now, none of that means anything to you guys. It's all hypothetical, and it's all just stupid and funny and ha ha ha, wouldn't that be cool? But in the far off future, someday, when people realize he's not there in the ground, this is step one. This is where you start. You start at the end and you work backwards. You find out, how in the world could there be a funeral service without a body? How could there not be a ton of co-conspirators? How could there be no co-conspirators? Well, there weren't. So there. Is it lunchtime already?
Yes.
Kick ass. Let me hit stop.